Let us turn next to the war on Ukraine. Ukraine's top generals are saying this morning that Russia is making new attempts to break through Ukrainian defenses. We'll have a moment from our CBC News team here that captures now the intensity of this new Russian offensive.
Okay, shelter this way.
So this video is from Margaret Evans and our CBC News team covering the story and capturing Russian missiles screaming overhead in a city northwest of Mariupol. As you can see, the sudden, sustained bombardment caught people out in the streets and left them scrambling for cover. We can tell you our news team is safe, and we'll have Margaret's story for you a little bit later on in the hour. The fighting is now happening along an arc that spans hundreds of kilometers in the east, but the port city of Mariupol remains a key focus this morning. This is video into us from Russian state television, and it claims to show refugees from Mariupol. The report says they're civilians who had left the area around that steel mill we've been talking about this week, where Ukrainian defenders are holding out. The report says the refugees are now in a Russian-held part of Donetsk, but there's no way to independently verify that claim. The evacuation of Mariupol remains contentious this morning. Ukrainian officials accuse Russian forces of funneling Ukrainian refugees to Russian-held areas and even into Russia itself. This morning, there is a new attempt to get civilians in Mariupol to safety. And let us bring in Dominic Velitis, who is covering that story for us. He's in our London bureau. Dominic, what are the latest details on Mariupol this morning?
Yeah, good morning, Heather. Well, Russia has given Ukrainian forces holding out there a new ultimatum to surrender after yesterday's offer lapsed without a single Ukrainian soldier laying down their weapons. The focus, as you say, in Mariupol is the Azov-style iron and steel works. It's this huge 4-square-mile plant, and it's where the last Ukrainian soldiers in the city are holed up. That new deadline for them to surrender, Heather, expires in about an hour from now. And earlier, we heard from Serhiy Volina, a Ukrainian Marine commander who is there. And despite what he and his men are facing, he remains defiant. Here he is. Take a listen.
This is our statement to the world. It may be our last statement. We might have only a few days or even hours left. The enemy's units are 10 times larger than ours. They have supremacy in the air, artillery, and units that are dislocated on the ground, equipment, and tanks. We appeal to the world leaders to help us.
Heather, we've also heard from Mariupol's mayor this morning, who said that about 100,000 civilians are still trapped in the city and that tens of thousands have been killed as a result of the fighting. That said, he also confirmed that a preliminary agreement with Russia has now been reached to evacuate 6,000 women, children, and elderly people from Mariupol. We're told 90 buses are on standby, waiting to head to the city to get them out. But of course, a word of caution here, Heather. It is just a preliminary agreement. It needs to hold. This has been tried before last month, a similar deal to create a safe corridor for civilians to flee the city fell apart, leaving, as we've been hearing today, around 100,000 trapped in the city without power, running water and other supplies, Heather.
On this, day 56, Dominic. The battle for Mariupol, it's also a major factor in the Russian attempt to capture a wide swath of Ukraine. What are we hearing this morning, Dom, about the overall offensive in the Donbass?
Yeah, we've had one of those regular updates from the UK Ministry of Defence here this morning regarding the latest general situation on the ground. And it's saying that Russia's military presence on Ukraine's eastern border is continuing to build. Eastern Ukraine is, of course, the focus now of Russia's invasion. And as a result, fighting in the Donbass region is intensifying as Russian forces seek to break through Ukrainian defences. Meanwhile, UK defence officials believe that Russian air activity in the north of the country is likely to remain low since withdrawing from north of Kyiv. That said, they are saying there is still a real risk, Heather, of Russian precision strikes against priority targets throughout the country, as we've been seeing in recent days. The Russians, it seems, are still intent on trying to disrupt the movement of Ukrainian forces and weapons to the east and for what is now being widely referred to as the Battle of Donbass. Heather.
Dominic, thank you very much.